Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Psychology Eats. So, what's eating you? Well, today, I am in another part of YouTube. So, if you're not familiar with this content creator, I encourage you to go to my community page where I posted the full live that he did discussing an incident that happened to him a few years ago. So this is from the Wiley Show. And Wiley is a YouTube content creator. And I think he has a couple of different shows, pages. But I follow him on the Wiley Show page. And so I've been subscribed to his channel for, I think, about a month or two. I like his content. He talks about pop culture and he talks about, what's going on, on in these YouTube streets. And like a lot of us YouTubers, sometimes we have disagreements with other YouTubers. And I think that is what was kind of happening with him, having some disagreements with some other YouTubers, which I don't know the details about any of it. I just know that he decided to come onto his channel and talk about an incident where he had a mental health breakdown. He was already diagnosed with bipolar. And if you know anything about bipolar, you have the person with bipolar experiences periods of depression and periods of mania. And in the manic stage, you're very impulsive. The person may talk very fast, a lot of racing thoughts. And so that is how he described what was happening in his life at the time of this incident. And I think what started to happen is that there were some channels who were, because they were having issues with him, brought this issue up and talked about it in recent days, of when he had this mental health breakdown. And so I'm going to show you a clip because YouTube is so shady. In talking to him about and going on his live, when he was discussing the incident, YouTube suggested this video to me, which is it's a 2-minute video of what happened to him the day of his emotional breakdown. So I'm gonna show it to you.
Chaos at a normally quiet place. A man in a fit of rage at a Dallas library. That library is in cleanup mode this evening, but damage will set the branch back more than $10,000. Tuesday, Sebastian Robertson has more on the outbursts and the aftermath.
Librarians at Dallas's Timber Glen Library are quietly at work.
Little spring cleanup.
Trying to keep their spirits up after an attack Friday that caused so much damage that they're still picking up 4 days later.
We gathered as a staff to regroup because it's been an emotional journey for everyone, very traumatic.
Marcus Finley was there and captured this man, a library patron, going on a rampage.
He's just throwing the computers out, and you hear what he's saying.
That sound, a bookshelf crashing to the ground.
They were trying to just be as calm as possible, but I can kind of tell they were scared.
The video cuts off before he destroys this monitor. That man is 27-year-old Marquise Wiley. Library staff say he went on to cause more than $10,000 worth of damage. Computers smashed, books thrown everywhere. This glass conference room door destroyed. Library staff say he went on like this for the better part of 25 minutes. No police in sight. Officers arrested the man shortly after he walked out of the building. Damage was clearly done, but amazingly, no one was hurt.
The staff in the building did an amazing job. They did exactly what library protocol calls for. They did not engage this person who was being verbally abusive. And they just protected the citizens in the building and got them out through the emergency exit.
As for the 27-year-old behind the vandalism, police say he remains in a mental care facility after suffering from some sort of mental breakdown. So far, no charges have been filed. Meanwhile, cleanup continues for a branch that's still recovering. In Dallas, Sebastian Roberts.
So that is the incident that happened. And luckily, the police came in and was able to de-escalate the situation without hurting him or one of them being hurt or anyone in the library being hurt. So what happened, he went on to go to court, and he tells his whole story. I'm not going to tell his story for him, but if you go, like I said, to my community page and watch the video from the beginning, he talks about, what happened to him, how he was feeling, and what happened as a result of that incident. And so then he was asking for, I was in the chat asking him, were you bipolar? It looks like you had you're bipolar with some psychosis, and did you experience childhood trauma? Because oftentimes people, when someone has a episode like that, they don't remember the details of what happened, and so you have to help them kind of recall what happened, because the mind is so unstable and so unbalanced at the time of the eruption. It's hard for them to kind of put the pieces together. But for him, over the last few years, and probably with the help of his mental health providers, he's been able to kind of put the pieces together, which is important for anyone with any type of mental illness. You want to know when you are kind of feeling not yourself. You want to know, like, am I okay? Am I feeling more depressed? Am I manic? Am I talking too much? Am I not talking enough? And so those can be signs that you're not doing well. And so for Wiley now, from what he has said in the live, he's more knowledgeable about when he's not doing well, and even when he's well. So now we're going to watch the live that he did, and then when I came in and was talking about his diagnosis. So yeah, now I'm going to show you a little bit of the live. Just to let you know, I did email Wiley to let him know that I will be doing this video, because I don't want to victimize him again, or I just think it's important to talk about, this topic is being talked about anyway and what happened to him, but from the perspective of someone, like me, a clinician, a psychotherapist, who has watched many people go through the same exact experience that he did. And for him to have the testimony to say to people, this may happen to you, but look at my life now. I'm stable, I'm in a good place, and this can happen for you too. Unfortunately, people who are bipolar oftentimes are at higher risk for suicide because the lack of treatment. And so he is such a wonderful testimony for people who are experiencing any type of mental illness, to know that there is hope, that there's hope. So let's watch this part of it.
I would love that. Cause or is it, okay. I would love that. That would be lovely. Okay, give me a second. I'll drop the stream yard. Hold on, I'll drop it. Give me a second. And I got the phone lines open up. Oh, somebody sent me a video. Hold on.
I'm gonna come in a second.
Oh, damn, something happened. It's like, oh, what the world? Hold on.
I tried to
Oh,
get it.
this is nice. This is nice. Yes. Okay, I'm looking at something. All right, we got the phone lines open up. This is the time to call in. The number is 646. Okay. Is it Nikki?
I thought I was at the
All right,
timestamp.
hold on. Okay. All right, hold on.
Hold
Give me
on.
a second.
I thought I had got it at the
Something going on with
timestamp.
my chair. Hold up. This chair just went up there. Hold on, y'all. There we go.
All right, 3 more seconds. 3 more seconds.
All right. Let's bring the person on. Hold on 1 second. Give me a second. I'm putting this up. All right. You live on the air. How you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Doing good.
I am a psychotherapist. I'm not a psychologist. I am
Okay.
a psychotherapist.
Okay.
So,
What's the difference? Can you tell me what's the difference?
well, the difference,
I like to be very clear about that with people, which is why I'm so like, if someone calls me a psychologist, I like immediately like get that straight because I know a lot of people don't know the difference between a psychotherapist, a psychiatrist, and a psychologist. And look in some of my older videos and I explain the differences. But I'm about to give a quick description now.
have a master's degree, and a psychologist has a doctoral degree.
Okay.
And a psychiatrist is a medical doctor.
Okay.
So the psychiatrist is the one that you would see for medication management,
Okay.
and somebody like me is the talk therapist. So we do the talk therapy, the social work kind of stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, I want to say, like, I want to thank you for like sharing your story. Although I know that it sounds like some other channels are trying to kind of expose you, but I think in you being able to share your story and what happened to you is really going to help so many people who don't seek therapy or don't know that, there are going to be days when, when you're bipolar, you're going to have those days when you're not doing well. And to know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that there is help and there is treatment is wonderful.
Yeah, because for me, it was difficult for me to have friends being bipolar because your attitude, for
Oh
me,
yeah,
can change on just like that.
it's up and down.
Yeah. So when it's speaking about the library situation, me having like hearing voices and not eating,
Yeah.
like wow, I just didn't know what was going on.
Well, most people who have bipolar don't have psychotic episodes.
Okay.
So that's pretty rare for bipolar. Usually we see that in schizophrenic.
Okay.
They live their entire life like that.
Okay.
They live like that all the time. They have, the psychosis and the delusions, hallucinations. But when it happens to people with bipolar, usually what happens is you are so stressed out. You have layers and layers of stress. And
Hmm.
then finally, it's this break between reality and what's not reality. And that's when we see the psychosis in people with bipolar.
Mm.
But it's rare, and it'll probably never happen to you again.
I hope not. I hope it
Wow. Because
doesn't.
I was like, what the heck happened? It was like Wow.
Yeah,
Because I always ask the question, would that ever happen again?
probably not. As long as you are stable, like if you're taking meds, you're consistent, you have a support team, you have a therapist, you have a psychiatrist that you can reach out to, you're decreasing your stress. See, the stress is what will trigger it. So
Mm.
you got to be very careful about people who bring you stress. And you need to,
That's a point I want to make over and over again is about stress. So even if you have anxiety disorder, depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, personality disorder, any of those mood disorders can can um, be triggered by stress. So if you are experiencing a high level of stress, it can push you to be unstable, to have a psychotic episode. And he identified that at the time or weeks before his episode that he was experiencing a lot of stress.
leave them alone. You know what I mean?
Because I'm telling you, like, stress, it was a lot of stress. I was under that
That's
moment,
what happened.
you know, family stress, being
Mhm.
place, it was just building upon building up. But I noticed that even in Chicago, I was having issues as well, and it just got put
Mhm.
to Dallas, and it got worse because I was like even more stressed, and it was like literally a breaking point.
That's right.
It was
That's what happened to you.
it was a break, and thank God that I'm here to tell the story. Because
Oh
anytime
my
we
gosh, yes.
show up, it's just a blessing that
It
I'm
is.
here to tell the story. Because it's not too many people have mental breaks, and they're not here to tell the story.
Mhm.
Police just boom, 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 end of their life.
That's
Right.
right. I mean, that's why we advocate that police do have, like, I mean, I live in the state of Pennsylvania, so when our police officers go out on a call that they know it's a person with maybe some mental health issues, we have a crisis team that goes out with them.
Or
And
before
so
them.
they're able to assess the situation. Sometimes, not all the time,
Facts.
but it's very helpful for our police officers to know what to do. And
Yeah.
so that's something that we continue to advocate throughout all the state because we just had an incident like that in Philly where an officer killed a young man that was having a psychotic break in front of his mother.
Yeah, I remember that. I
Do you
remember.
remember that? Mm-hmm.
I remember that because I just remember, and that was so sad. That was
It was.
sad. And another thing too, sleep. Because I remember I could be up for like days
Oh yeah.
and days, and I feel like I'm on the top of the world.
You were
I,
manic.
yeah, I'm very, very manic, and I'm like, oh, I'm on the top of the world, and everything, outside, sunny day, just walking, and it's just. I remember I would pick up little projects, and even when I went to Walmart, I just remember like everybody's
Mhm.
here, and I would just go here, go there. I don't know if I was coming or going, but
Oh yeah.
that was that manic. I was really manic, and I was
You were
like,
manic.
yeah, and
My clients hate when I hospitalize them during their mania because they're like, I feel so good, I feel so great. I'm like, you're manic.
yeah,
It can be just as destructive, and deceiving, and it can destroy
yeah.
your life worse than depression.
Yes, because it's like it's a feeling like I can go without sex when I have that mania. Oh, okay, sex is the best. So and like
With
it's like
anybody too, honey. With anybody.
anybody. Oh, I feel so good and it's like a type of rush. Even when I do
Yes.
even when I'm live, I can really tell when I'm manic. I'm talking loud. One thing when
Yes.
you start speaking and you start speaking like boom, 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 like 50 words a
Rapid
minute,
thoughts.
like
Mhm.
really
Mhm.
fast and not
That's
really
right.
making sense. I remember that. I can remember doing projects and having clothes here, papers here, doing this, and next thing you know, the whole
Yes.
just in a disarray. That's a part
That's
of
right.
and manic. Yes, I've been there. I've been there.
Manic is, I always say, manic can be worse than depression. Depression,
Yeah,
for somebody who's bipolar, is bad because then you can start to have suicidal thoughts, and that's bad.
absolutely,
But
absolutely.
you're less destructive. You're kind of just home, sleep, maybe not taking a bath. But when you're manic, you're just running all over town like a crazy person.
Yeah, and buying stuff and just going here, going there. I was just like, dude, I remember I went to Atlanta and I was really manic, and I just
Yes.
snapped on my cousin. It was really crazy. And I tried to smoke. It felt like I felt different. It felt like I had a chip on my shoulder. I just felt weird.
That's
Right.
right.
Felt myself, but now when I'm medicated, I'm like, oh,
You
okay.
got the
Stable.
balance.
It's
Your balance.
it's a balance, and I resisted the medicine for a long time. I'm like,
I'm sure.
I don't need no medicine. Ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm good.
Let me just make a point about medication. A lot of people who are newly diagnosed with any mental illness resist medication. And what happens is when you finally kind of get someone to, now some people say, medicate me. I don't like feeling this way. I need the stability. But what happens is people will take their medication, become stable, and then say, well, I don't need this medication anymore. I'm stable. And what we try to convince them of is that you are stable because you're on the medication, because you have a chemical imbalance in your brain, and the medicine helps to balance the chemicals in your brain. And when you remove those medications, you're back to being unbalanced again. So that's a roller coaster that we face with a lot of people with mental illness.
Yeah, I'll be up for 3 days, 4 days, and
I know.
just pacing, and I'm like, whoa, whoa. And I've been back into the hospital a couple of times because
Sure.
it was unbearable.
Right. And that's okay. And that is okay. Because what happens with psychotropic medications is that sometimes you start to kind of reach the wall with them. And so it needs to be revamped. And
Absolutely,
that's okay. And if the safest place to do that is the hospital.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
that's okay. Every couple of years you might need to go in just to have your meds, reevaluated, make sure you're good. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with that. You're exactly right. I'm glad we having this conversation because some
Yes.
they're like, oh, how would you go to the library if you didn't want nothing to go? How do you remember? You can remember when you're manic. It ain't like your
Oh,
memory gone.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. You were at the end of you were at the end of the mania.
Wow.
You were at the end of it, and that was just the final eruption. That's why I asked you about childhood trauma. Because if you dealt with childhood trauma and never had therapy, never dealt with it, all of those things, and then all the stress that you were experiencing, it makes perfect sense that that happened that day to
Wow.
us in the mental health field. It makes sense, and
Mm,
it's okay. You survived it.
yeah. Because it was a lot of, and I didn't know I had trauma. I just did not
Sure,
know. And then when you talk about it, I'm like, oh, that's a whole lot of trauma. And
that was you had a whole lot of trauma. Just me now, you talking about your mom and the weekends. Do you know? I can imagine you as a little boy, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Your stress, your anxiety increased as you got closer to the weekend because
yes.
you knew what was going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and you lived with that for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Everybody was shocked because they was like, "How is this happening with this guy?" He was directly quite. What happened? Like, but they didn't
Hmm.
know the behind the scenes, the trauma.
That's right.
And my mother didn't know the trauma that I developed in church because that can cause trauma too. When somebody,
Oh please, yes.
you can't direct the choir or you going to hell, that can affect your mental health.
Absolutely.
And do you know, for years, it's for a while for me to make a decision because I'm like, oh, I might go to hell for that. Oh, I can't go to the movies. That's
Listen, any of us that grew up in a Baptist church experienced that trauma. I let a boy touch me for the first time. I was like, I'm going to hell. I'm a whore.
right. It's not, yeah, that really
Right.
affected my mental. That really affected my mental health. Like, because for a long time I said, well, I'm not gonna live long, and I was saying
Right.
stuff over and over, and that affected me. And so now that we having this conversation, it's good to talk with somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, keep in touch with me.
Yes.
I have a channel. Email me. Let's keep in touch.
We definitely will keep in touch. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because you're coming from that field. Because most people that's talking about this, they're not in the mental health field, so they don't know.
27 years. 27 years.
They don't know, but I'm glad that we're having this conversation.
Yes. We must continue this.
Yes, thank you so much. We will continue it.
Yes, I'm gonna reach out to you. I'll email you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Ooh, wow, you just never know. Okay.
So I felt like that was a really good conversation. And I hope that I hope that I was able to help him. And anyone else who watches this who may have made a video or have talked about it maybe in a negative way, that you would change your perspective. Take out whatever personal beef, whatever that you may have with him, and look at the broader, bigger picture, that there are so many people who are living with mental illness, and if they have a breakdown or an episode like that, in a lot of cases, they are killed, maybe by the police or by other people, just people that don't understand what's happening with them. So we have to have more compassion for people who have mental illness, and mental health issues, and more support for them. So thank you everyone who watched this video throughout the whole video all the way to the end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.